You ready? Put it away for now, okay? Type B regressions, no points are given. So you have to come up with, the ones where they give you the points, I mean, come on, just type it in, go, right? But when they don't give you the points, that is trickier. So, in no particular order, you have to somehow, within the question, determine the max, the min, or the mid, okay? The question will give clues to determine all three somehow. Okay? So one note here, it's possible that you start below ground or underwater, in which case we have to use negatives. I don't think that's going to surprise you. I'm just going to make sure you understand. Okay? So we have that. So obviously, this is our min, this is our mid, and this is our max. So sometimes they'll tell you that a wheel has a diameter of 10. Okay? If the wheel has a diameter of 10, what does that mean? It's a wheel on the ground. So what would this be? 0. We can jump straight to the top. What's the highest point we're going to reach if we're pebbles stuck on the wheel? 10. And what would this be then? 5. So that one would be the easiest case, like, okay, I have everything I need, way to go, right? So that's what I need you to do. The first step is determining these three lines, okay? Then, horizontally, we are done. Next thing is the x values. You're going to have to focus on the x values. I'm going to grab a different color. Determine the period and your x scale. Okay? Period is the x units for a full cycle. Highlight this part. Sometimes there's more than one cycle given. In which case, to find the period, we just need to take the time they gave us, divide it by the cycles. That's the time for one cycle. I will give you an example so you can wrap your head around this. Let's do 4 times per minute, sorry. A wheel spins 4 times per minute. Four times. So that's 4 cycles, correct? You don't want that. You just want the time for one cycle, for one spin. So to get the period here, you would just I would use 60 seconds. Right, the time, and then divide it by 4. That's very tiny, I know. So one spin would take you 15 seconds. That's what you want. Okay, you want the 15 seconds, not the 4 times per minute. You want to know how much every cycle. How much does it take for one cycle? 15 seconds. Okay. All right, keep going. The x scale is your period divided by 4. Highlight that part. This is the x increment as we jump between the min, the mid, and the max. Okay. So we're going to split it. So example, if period is, let's say, 100 days, let's say, then the x scale is going to be 100. It's always going to be divided by 4. So it's 25 days. So what you're doing there is you're saying that every increment, we're going to jump between the min, the mid, and the max. It's always going to be shifting sideways 25 units. Okay. That's what you're finding out when you're dividing your period in 4. Okay. And now here are some examples. The last thing before you've determined that is determine the starting point and read carefully. So we figured out our min, mid, max. We figured out our period and figured out our x scale. Those two things need to happen. You need to know how are you moving y and how are you moving on your x, okay? And then you need to find where are you starting. So let's have 3 different scenarios that I have for you here. Let's say a pebble is stuck on the tire at the lowest point. Where are you starting in this story? Starting here at the low. Then you're going to go over to the middle. As the tire spins, you get to the highest. The tire keeps spinning, you keep coming down. And this is a full cycle. Can you see the 4 time frames? There's 4 here. If you don't mind, use a ruler, that's best. But if you were to split this up horizontally, vertically, I mean. This is not drawn to scale, but do you see the 4 slots there? How x is split into 4? You should. Okay. That's why we divide our period into quarters. Next, somebody's bungee jumping from the top of the cliff. Obviously, where are you starting? You're starting up here. So some of them are very obvious. And then naturally you'd say, well, then I move over to the middle, to the lowest point. Hopefully you don't hit the ground. And then back to the middle, and back to the top. Do you see how you're going to have your quarters here again? It's like guitar chords. Anybody play guitar? Yeah? It kind of looks like, it's not exactly 6 strings, right? But anyways. But do you see your x scale here in quarters? So 1 full period is from max to max. So we can split this into quarters. So it's going to be a quarter time from one point to the other. Okay. Let's just put it this way here. In this case, time is equal to 0. In this case, time is equal to 0. Your starting point is at 0. Next, a mark on the wheel reaches a max after 10 seconds. Highlight that part. It reaches a max after 10 seconds. So where are you starting this story? You're starting it at the max. But what is your starting time? Is it 0? It is not. It is 10 seconds. So it's almost like they're fast forwarding this story, and all of a sudden, oh, at 10 seconds you're at the max. Let's start there, and let's do our story from there. So from there you go here, back to the low, back to the mid, back to the max, right? So we're always jumping between the 3 horizontal lines, and every time along the x is going to be a quarter of a period this way. Highlight the t equals to 10. That's going to be a trickier scenario. Not really, but we're going to have to watch out for that. So here we are. Let's do our first example together. The paddle wheel on the SS Beaver has a 13 feet in diameter. So the wheel has a 13-foot diameter and revolved 30 times per minute. Revolved 30 times per minute when moving at top speed. Using this speed and starting from a point at the very top of the wheel. I'm going to use a different color for that one. In this case, that is the indication as to where you're going to start. Write a model for the height in feet of the end of the paddle relative to the water surface as a function of time in seconds. Assume the paddle is 2 feet below the water surface at its lowest point. That is also worth highlighting. I'm going to use a different color for that one. Determine the sinusoidal equation. Okay, so let's do A here. I would strongly encourage you to find the min, the max, and the mid first, and make yourselves a little line like this. The max, mid, and min. Which one can we start with? Which one do we know for sure at this point? Between the three, if you read the question, which one can we put a number next to? The min? It says, how far underground are we going under the water? 2 feet, right? So we can start with this one for sure. What else do we have to give us more info? What is it, Vanessa? The max? Do we know the max or can we find it? The point is you have to be careful is, let me see here, where is it? 13 feet in diameter. So if you have a paddle wheel, right? We know that from here to here, it is 13 feet. That's what we know. So this is the min right here, the lowest the paddle wheel will ever get to. We can just add 13 feet to that to get us to the max. Okay. So this is for sure. It says we're going 2 feet below water, so we're going to add 13. And what does that give us as the max? 11. 11 feet is the maximum with respect to what? The water. Everything is with respect to the water. How do I find the mid now? Add the min and the max divided by 2. Remember that formula? Yes. So I'm going to do that somewhere on the side here. I'm using up a lot of space. But I'm going to go max plus min divided by 2. Okay. So that would be 11 plus negative 2 over 2. 11 minus 2 is 9. Divided by 2 is 4.5 feet. I'm going to circle all of this. And now I have enough for this part right here. Where's the water? The water, if this is 2 feet, imagine the water is right here. I'm just letting you, I wouldn't necessarily say include that all the time, but that is where the water is. What would be the height of the water if we had to like find it? What is that in terms of a number? If this is negative 2, then this is 0. That's our 0 line. Okay. So I'm not going to put it down because we only need these 3 really. Okay. Now we've got our min, mid, and max. Got it? So what's our period here? Because now we need to focus on sideways. the period. What is that saying? Where would you find the period in the statement up here? It would have to do with the revolutions, right? 30 times per minute. That's how fast this thing is spinning. Right? So 30 revs per minute. But we just want one revolution, right? So period would be 60 seconds divided by 30 revolutions. Okay. And that gives us 60 divided by 30 is 2 revolutions per second. That is the period that we're after. So, where's our story starting here? We're starting at the top, technically, right? And then we're going to move to the middle and to the lowest, back to the middle, back to the top. So how many points do we have here? We have 5 points, which is what we need for sinusoidals. What time are we starting this story? Are we told that we're starting at any time other than 0? It doesn't mention it, right? So we're going to assume that this is time 0. And what's going to be the time for it to come back up here? Time, 2 seconds. Okay. So from 0 to, right, this is a full cycle. So this is where you have to split this into quarters. Watch this. X scale, you go 2, right? 2 revs. What did I do there? My units are off. I got this wrong. Seconds per revolution. Yeah, sorry about that. It's not even Friday. So the X scale is in seconds. Okay, let's get that right. So our 2 seconds, we're going to split that into 4. What's 2 divided by 4? 0.5 of a second. Okay, this is important. You ready? So we start at 0. How much time will have gone by for me to get to this point? Time is 0.5. Right? A quarter of a period to get to the middle. Another quarter period to get to here. What's my time there? 1. Another quarter period. Time is 1.5. And then I get to 2. So there you have your times, and every time has a height that goes with it. Okay? So let's make our table here, because I would not recommend you do that. So time and height. You make a little T-chart. So when time is 0, my height is 11. When my time is 0.5, my height is 4.5. When time is 1, I'm at -2. 1.5, I'm at 4.5 again. After 2 seconds, I'm back to 11. L1, L2, let's go and come up with a regression here. Okay. before you chant victory, it's like I got it. Do a couple of checks. What's the max if I were to use my equation? What's the max? 4.5 plus 6.5? That is 11, right? Is that what we're supposed to have? Yes. 4.5 minus 6.5? Negative 2, right? So it jives. So you should be able to, like if you don't see it jiving, go back, okay? So this is my equation. There you go. I'm going to leave it at that for today because that is the hardest part, to come up with these points, and that answering questions that follow, those are things we did just today on the AC. So I'm going to say this. I know it's going to be tough, but I need you to try it. Let's go 36 to 38. Some of it is just straightforward regression without having to come up with your own points. But 36 to 38, that's what I'm going to post. I will probably post more than that. So if you're eager to try more already, you go for it. I'm not going to stop you. In fact, way to go if that's you.